And then we realized we could do this at scale. And so hence is what we're doing now is we're building an online community and marketplace platform that's powered through some AI enablement and AI recommendations and matchmaking, personalization, which we're targeting Q1 next year to release. But the evolution still all comes from us listening to the community and saying what does the market need and what does the community need.
Welcome back to episode 4 of the IP Cafe. As you can tell, things look a little bit different today.
Switching things up because the Desmond Grimes, myself, has made the trip up from North Carolina to join Alec and our guest today, Chris Frew from Biobuzz, to talk about everything regarding workforce development, and we talk a little bit about IT. What else did we talk about?
I think we talked a lot about, as you'll find out, we talked a lot about the ecosystem as a whole, which, as we were talking with Chris about this, that's something that really struck me, because that's the whole point of the IP Cafe is we don't want to just talk about tech, but we want to talk about this whole ecosystem of everybody. So I think it was really good.
It was a great conversation, and Chris is a wealth of knowledge, and I'm not saying that because I'm also a Board of Buzz member, but he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to building community, finding talent, placing that talent, and he's kind of gone through the ups and downs, the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens when it comes to just like what building this community that Biobuzz is, and the biohealth capital as a whole, and what that looks like, and I think he does a really, really good job at explaining it, and gives some good insight. He might have to end up becoming a regular guest.
Yeah.
Because
we could have gone on and on. It was just a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there will definitely be a part two for Chris Frew to join.
Two for Frew.
To join the IP Cafe, and he'll be a regular guest, and the conversation today was awesome, and I hope everyone else enjoys it and learns a little bit about Biobuzz and what they do for the community, specifically around biotech and I guess IT a little bit.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it then.
Cool.
All right, well, everyone, welcome to the IP podcast or IP Cafe. I'm one of your hosts, Desmond Grimes, and I know this is a little odd compared to the normal format, because usually I'm a little screen somewhere in there, but I'm in person today. I don't know if the people here are excited about me being in person.
I'm excited.
I'm here. And we have a really special guest today, Chris Frew from Biobuzz. You working anywhere else right now, or just Biobuzz?
I always wear two hats. So
two hats?
Biobuzz and Workforce Genetics.
Workforce Genetics. Been in the, biotech and recruiting industry for quite some time now. And we want to talk about workforce development, recruitment, the biotechnology industry as a whole, and just go through what you're seeing and what you're talking about. And can't forget about Alec over here. Nobody can see my face. He'll be joining, and I'm hoping ask some great questions and stuff. But the whole goal is keep it loose, kind of have a cafe style. I don't have coffee in front of me, so everybody can be mad at me for not bringing coffee with me, but that's okay. So
I'm trying a Cinnabon one that we got this time.
I was wondering what you had over there, man.
Does it smell?
It smells like cinnamon over there. So, anyways,
sweet.
Chris, welcome on, man.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm great to be here, and I appreciate when you said I was a special guest. I didn't expect that you'd jump on a plane and fly all the way up here just for me.
Just for you, Chris.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. Totally in person's always best, and I also love we have the same color scheme, Info Pathways and Biobuzz. So I feel right at home up here. I mean, this is you might not have a hard time getting rid of me.
That's fine. I'll keep you around. I can deal with that.
All right.
So I have a pin. I have a Biobuzz pin.
Because you're an ambassador.
I don't know where it is. Actually, I do know where it is. It's sitting on my bedside table because I dream about Biobuzz all the time.
I ask him every time we go to an event. I said, "Where's your Biobuzz pin?" And he's like, because he's normally like, "Oh, I gotta get my pin out. And yesterday he's like, "It's on my nightstand."
It is on my nightstand.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you don't sleep with it, but I'm glad to hear it's right there. So as soon as you wake up, you grab your pin.
Look at it,
it's like brushing your teeth in the morning, right? It's just a part of the routine.
Exactly.
But you know what? I love that, Desmond. I mean, so my business partner, Kat Thorson, who you all know, launching the ambassador program was a big initiative she did last year. And it really represents kind of at the heart of what Biobuzz is all about, which is community. And, so our feeling is like if we do this right, our community is all the people that are part of Biobuzz, right? So it's not an organization where we're trying to direct things from the top down. We're trying to engage and grow things from the bottom up.
Yeah.
And it's everybody. It's a philosophy. It's a culture. It's a state of mind. It's a community culture that we're trying to create. So I really appreciate that you wear the pin when you remember. And you're out there representing the life science community, because community is critical for
Absolutely.
all of our customers and all of the companies, and whether you're a startup or you're a large company, community is so critical to how you innovate and adopt new technologies, and ultimately how do you get the product to the patients.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that is something that I think stood out to me. I mean, I always got to mention me being an athlete in college, but me being an athlete in college.
You do any other time.
You're right. The community side of it, it was, so I went to Hood, so we didn't have fraternities, but they always say, fraternity, you're going to get a job from one of your fraternity brothers that is like, however much older than you are. And of course Hood was different. We're all young startup program, but being able to reach out to, we were talking right before we started about, I had a friend that works for another company that we're both familiar with, and just being able to reach out to him and talk to him about potential partnerships or not even that, but just any way to impact the community is huge. So like I moved down to North Carolina right around the time that the ambassador program, and I may have already been there, rolled out from Biobuzz, and being so far away, it was difficult, and there's growing pains with anything, but like every day I would go on visits or somewhere in Winston-Salem, or we'll talk about lab space there or something, and I'm like, I really need to introduce you to Biobuzz, because they're like, man, and Winston-Salem is different than Raleigh, Durham, or even up here, because it's a growing life science market, but so it's not really established yet. And being able to bring in Biobuzz to help establish that and like that area, and I still need to do it, but is going to be crucial for them in building a community of people for that that space. And I own a house in Winston-Salem. I live there now. It's my favorite place, but so I'm trying to bring in the industry that I've been in now for, I don't even know, 4 years or so, and that I found like a weird passion for it because I had no interest in science when I was in college or in school. So being able to further the community is awesome. And I bring up Hood. They're announcing a biotechnology training program, which is really awesome, and I hope that Biobuzz can get connected there, which I am more than willing to do. But
that'd be great. So you bring up something that's I think important that we talk about a lot. And there's some great organizations, and you know, Info Pathways. I mean, you work with a lot of companies. We see you guys everywhere, right? I mean, you know, so you know, just your presence at these events, you know, shows your commitment to the community. But you know, as we've grown, so do you mind if I just do a quick Biobuzz?
Go and do your thing. I mean, I never got to the point where I was like, hey,
let me dive
about your background.
So Biobuzz launched 15 years ago or more, just a little more than that, and we launched during recession, which again, I have a lot of similarities to when we launched it today. And but at the time, the region lost about 1,800 jobs, and it was a very desperate time for a lot of job seekers. Yep. And as a region, so you talk about Winston-Salem, as a region, there really was also like some challenges with like our identity, right? So we had just lost Baxter, and Lonza left, and Shire left Maryland, and Activist was shutting down. So it was a rough time. So we started Biobuzz as a community-driven platform where people could help one another. Yeah. And that was a very basic philosophy. Let's create a culture of community where the workforce can help the workforce, and we can create this kind of really general ground up approach at things. Fast forward over the years, it's great. It was a passion project, right? You know, the one thing I'll tell you that I've learned over the past 15 years is ecosystem building does not pay the bills very well. It fuels the soul.
It feels good.
Exactly, it feels good. We do great work. We've thousands of jobs. We've helped connect thousands of jobs over the time, and I have stories of companies that got started by meeting each other at Biobuzz, and even presidents of companies got their job through Biobuzz events and programming. So we've got this great impact story, but it doesn't the pay very well because it's hard to fund unless you're a nonprofit. Events and programming and this do-good mentality on a small scale. So, if you look at our journey over the years, we've always evolved based on the demands and based on the market conditions. So, in around 2017, the whole region was going through a kind of identity, I don't want to say crisis, but trying to figure out who are we, right? And that was when the whole biohealth capital region emerged. Right. And it was at that time that we were approached because we were getting 150 to 200 people a month at our events. I mean, it was, they were huge.
I think I was late. I was late to the party.
You were still in college at the non-fraternity parties.
Fraternity.
I was working
close.
on tractors.
Of course you were.
Which to me sounds actually really enjoyable. I love working with my hands, and
I did the IT stuff, so it was because what people don't understand is they have a computer just like a car. So
sure.
Anyway.
And GPS and everything else.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. Alec needs to talk about a tractor time.
If you can talk about you being a collegiate athlete at a no-name college. Anyway.
This is what happens when Desmond comes up to Maryland, right?
It's a hard time. Every time I come up here. I'm sorry. We interrupted.
First off, I don't think Hood's a no-name college. I enjoy giving him a hard time.
That's right.
You're going to get some...
I went to York College, undefeated in football since whenever it was formed because they just want to create a football team.
Similar. Anyways, go ahead.
I went to Towson, so, I think...
Great at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lacrosse was I think, what everybody knew us for.
Anyways, back to Biobuzz.
Back to Biobuzz. So, from tractors to collegiate athlete to baseball to... But yeah, during that time, what was happening is you saw this ecosystem emerging, and there were some challenges that were out there. And we were approached by MedImmune at the time, who became our biggest sponsor. Okay. And the impetus was, hey, you've got this great organic community that is just authentic about connecting and helping. How can we help to leverage that to better synthesize and break down silos and grow the capital region? So MedImmune sponsored us, and it was basically we want you to write more stories. At the time we were doing a small blog and some webinars, and they said we want you to write stories but not about us. Their sponsorship was basically just to help us grow and tell stories about everybody else.
Really?
And the whole philosophy was, if more people can see what's happening in Maryland, then it'll be easier for MedImmune to recruit and attract executives and recruit and attract talent. Because, and you might know this because you've got a talent background, but people don't accept jobs just for the job they're about to take, especially if they're relocating.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely. It's about
They're moving their
what's next.
family.
Yeah.
And they need to know that there's something next.
Yep.
So how do you create and how do you help people understand what's next?
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, Workforce Next is a recruitment business, and that's really the larger business at this time on how we make money and grow. But so it was very progressive, I thought, from their thought process at the time, and they were a big advocate for forming this Capital Region brand.
Yeah.
And so together with BioHealth Innovation, but MedImmune became our biggest sponsor to really kickstart us becoming a media platform.
Yeah.
And what we learned is that as we grew, suddenly we realized that, one, I love telling stories about the innovators in this space.
Hence why we brought him onto the podcast, everybody.
And we've told a lot of stories. So, depending how long we have, I can go into a bunch of details on
As
it.
long as you want, Chris.
But, we learned how important stories really were to growing an ecosystem and to connecting job seekers with employers.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about culture and science and brand in a way that job seekers really resonated with. So that was kind of an inflection point for us. And suddenly, large organizations, when Kite moved to Maryland, they engaged us to help build their employer brand and a pipeline of talent. And we realized that it's an employer branding, recruiting, marketing element that we were really filling in the space, in addition to an ecosystem building. Now, fast forward today, where we are is we've had a couple tough years. Some call what the biotech winter, or whatever
Something
you
like
call
that.
it. It's been a hard couple of years.
It has.
So investment's down, growth is down. We're seeing an uptick in some later stage investment now, but in general, it's been a tough couple of years. We looked internally and said, well, how do we help our community through this? And one of the things we saw is a lot of people unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
We saw more people becoming consultants than ever before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw more of our clients say, Chris, I can't hire this full-time executive from you. We had several of these searches ongoing. Like we had a search for a head of quality operations, and they said, hey, can you help us fill this as a fractional role? And we had a director of CMC, and they said, can you help us do this as a fractional role? Mm-hmm. So we saw this whole trend on everybody going, okay, hold on, I can't hire full-time right now, but I still need to get projects done. What can we do? So we looked at what we had, and we had this large community of 20,000 community members and subscribers. You got it?
Sorry, I had to.
Just slide around.
It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. You were in a really good story that I was really interested in, but I was like, let me take the chance to adjust my mic.
All good.
Sorry to everybody. I'm sitting here and it's been on my mind the entire time. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I hear you. Good.
The ADD kicked in. No, don't worry about it. Just put it back.
So we listened to the market, and the market said we need to help our community find fractional and part-time jobs during this tough time, so that we can help everybody get through it. And that's what we started doing. And then we realized we can do this at scale, and so hence is what we're doing now is we're building an online community and marketplace platform that's powered through some AI enablement and AI recommendations and matchmaking, personalization, which we're targeting Q1 next year to release. But the evolution still all comes from us listening to the community and saying what does the market need and what does the community need. So I'm going to dovetail this if the listeners are following all the way back to Winston-Salem, where Desmond moved. So.
I live there now.
And you like how I brought that all around this?
That was awesome.
Big
I don't know how you
dovetail.
did that.
Right,
Coming full circle.
Coming full circle. So how does a small market like Winston-Salem create buzz? So as an ecosystem builder, I need to be able to have the resources to do the storytelling and to the matchmaking and do the programming, all of which costs money. And I'm a big believer in industry leading or industry, ultimately leading some of these things. Mm-hmm. And what we realize is tough. It's tough for us economically as a business model, as a for-profit ecosystem builder in a large market like DC to make the economics work. So what we've identified is the marketplace model will help us do that.
Yeah.
It'll help us, create a sustainable business model by connecting people with jobs and freelance consultants to new gigs, while enabling us to do the good work that we love and we've learned we want to do. And it's going to enable us to go into new markets like Winston-Salem, and even smaller markets like Winston-Salem. And our model is like this warm blanket that goes over top of all the current ecosystem builders.
Okay.
Because
Warm blanket.
Winston-Salem already has people focused on growing Winston-Salem.
They do, yeah.
And we don't want to be competitive. And we like even in Maryland, like there's a lot of people doing, the Maryland Tech Council does an amazing job.
Yeah.
Biohealth Innovation does an amazing job. TEDCO, Greater
ISPE.
Baltimore Committee, ISPE.
Yeah.
But so we really look at Biobuzz as this kind of overarching, we want to, from a media perspective and a community perspective, we want to cover everybody because we want to really truly be that rising tide.
Yeah.
And so we think we've created a model where eventually in the next year or two we'll be able to go into a Winston-Salem. And right now we are in conversations with some other markets like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia around a ecosystem catalyst model where a grant would fund us to come in.
Oh, wow.
And it would fund the launch of Biobuzz in these markets and us to really kind of put our heels to dig our heels in and do really great work.
Yeah.
And then after 2 years, we're self-sustainable.
Gotcha.
And foundations and regional ecosystem economic development, they love that. They love that, ultimately we have a model that grows their ecosystem, is sustainable, and it's ultimately driven by industry.
Yeah.
So I hope that Winston-Salem is on our 2025, 2026 list, and you can help with that.
I will 100%. I mean, I absolutely. I mean, Winston-Salem and even like all of North Carolina, it's still, yes, RTB, the Research Triangle has been there since the 60s or something like that. But if you look at the companies that are there are a few larger companies, Pfizer, Fujifilm, those folks. They are there and they're well established in the area, but there is still most of the companies that are there are startup, or maybe they have just gotten to stage like B stage funding or something like that, and they still don't. This is gonna sound bad, but I don't think they have the same kind of community that's up here. And that was something that when I moved down, I was like, I feel kind of lost, because I knew that I could have went to Biobuzz and been like, hey, help.
Who do you know?
Who
right?
do you know? How can I get in touch with somebody?
And that's the culture,
yeah.
right? It's like Cheers for biotech, right? Like
Yeah.
the old TV show.
Didn't watch it.
Yeah. Now I'm saying my age.
They're-
I'm 45.
I
so
know
I've been doing
Cheers
this 20
is.
years.
It's quite all right. It's nothing to do with age. It's that I don't watch movies or TV apparently. And if you open the door and ask anybody, has Desmond watched anything? Their answer is always no.
Yeah.
That's the one thing here is like all of them, I don't know how they have time for it because they're always working, but they've seen every movie in the universe and show, and if it's constant references that like I don't watch a ton, and
Yeah.
it's like we're like, so he's got like a list.
I do. I have a running list of things that I need to watch. I don't know who has it right now. It may be Tom, but
I'm with you, Desmond. So, like, my movie quotes and reference points all stopped at about 2004 when I graduated college.
Yep.
And I'm like, if it wasn't out before then, like,
Not
before then I could probably quote half the movie. But
yeah, we don't need to dive into movies anymore. We can talk about this later because I have a weird way of thinking about it. But yeah, I mean the community side of things, it's something that I thought I lacked down there, and I've tried to make it a point, especially being in Winston-Salem, is like try to establish the community there, not just for me as a BD person for Info Pathways, but just like I would like to know that if tomorrow, God forbid, something happens and I lost my job, I could, or something like that, I could actually go to someone in the community and being like, hey, I need help. And that's the great thing about Biobuzz.
So
that
I'd
I've
love to
always
hear,
appreciated.
when you went down there, I'd love to hear, what are some of the things that you did do? I mean, what was your first, the first 6 months down there? How did you really establish those relationships and reach out? What were some of the things that you found successful?
The first 6 months being down there was me going to every single event, biotech or not, to just meet and shake hands and smile and say, hey, I am Desmond, I'm with Info Pathways, just want to just talk with them. So anytime I could get a meeting, anytime that I could go to a networking event, Triangle Biotech Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're familiar. Yeah. Great. They do an amazing job. We met a client there, and which is great. It was like our second North Carolina client, and I still go to that all the time, and I have great friendships with people there outside of just the client, but like people that I have just met in the community. Reese Technologies has a person down there that I like to talk to quite a bit, and I would just go to everything, and then I would follow up, which I'm incredibly bad at, which is not good as a BD person. Probably not good to say that, but I'm bad at
this.
She'll hear it. Don't worry, she listens to all of them. Probably not. No, but I do. I'm bad at following up sometimes, so I made it a point when I was down there. I'm going to follow up with everybody, and these are just industry people. And then being in Winston, my other goal was I want to connect with community and governmental leaders just to see if they could help me understand what's coming. Is I would have inside knowledge on just different parts of growth for the community, and that's really what happened. And then I have a dog. And I joined a dog brewery that I go to trivia, and I met some people there. So it was just really me getting out in front of people and talking to them. So I did that a whole lot for the first 6 months.
Which is hard for you.
Yeah. I mean, that's
as
another
an introvert.
Thing. As an introvert, I would call myself an ambivert. But as an introvert, it is difficult to go out and want to talk to people all the time. And then, which is crazy.
And you're not alone in this industry, I would assume, right? There, in the life science industry, are mostly introverts or extroverts?
They're mostly introverts. Are you kidding me?
So, but again, that goes to show you for these events, for a lot of people, it is hard to do that.
It is.
And it sounds like that was part of your success. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of people, especially job seekers, if you just got laid off and you were a discovery development scientist, early stage on the bench. I mean, most of the time you're in the lab, you're not a project manager who's used to being out or a BD person. So that's hard for a lot of people.
It is.
And, so at Biobuzz, that's why I think the digital element also is helpful, because information is important. And if, especially in this industry, if you can, what we've learned is if we can share a couple stories about companies, about leaders, about people doing, and a lot of our content is about people, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes not leadership people. It's right. It's like at all, highlight
all
lab
levels.
techs, but it's the storytelling. So what we found is for scientists and engineers and people in this field, if we can arm them with some inside baseball around companies and some information around who the company is or the leader, they can go and sometimes it's like the 5 questions we do. I've heard so many feedback from people. It was so helpful because when I met that person, I was like, oh, you like X, Y, Z, right?
Yep.
And so everything we've done is architected around an end goal and ultimately supporting the workforce and supporting the community. And so those are examples of how we hope that when you move to Maryland, Philadelphia, or North Carolina, we hope you can go on Biobuzz and say, oh, well, let me read about some people in the area and maybe reach out on LinkedIn, or maybe I can bump into them. Mm-hmm. We have sponsors that are aligned with our philosophy and our goal. In North Carolina, one of our sponsors this past year was Kymanox.
Yep.
They're headquartered in North Carolina.
Durham.
Big company dedicated to the community. They're a consulting company. They work with a lot of companies, everything from early device or drug development through project management and quality and commercialization. But they're headquartered down in RTP.
Yep.
And you probably saw them.
I see a Kymanox person every time I go to an event.
That's right.
Every time. No matter what. And they're always superb, super nice people. It's not even North Carolina, but I went out to, myself and our founder, Teresa, went out to San Francisco for JPM week last year. And Kymanox had their own event. And it's I mean, they're a large organization, so, but it was cool to go out there and be like, oh, I'm from North Carolina, and like, oh, nice to see you out here on the West Coast. And it's, for some odd reason, I meet most of like Info Pathways clients out on the West Coast instead of right where I need to meet them in the locations that they're at, but that's fine. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The community side of it is amazing, and Kaimanox does a great job with that.
And some companies like Kaimanox, they get it, right? And then, you know, I was at the grand opening this past month with Millipore Sigma, who just opened their Rockville
big facility.
Yeah, the facility's awesome, and they have a huge space on the first floor that's all about bringing employees together. And one of the things we talked about was like, you know, hey, this would be a great place for a Biobuzz event. We want the community to come in too. This isn't just for us. We want the community to come in. So I think that element that companies, and going through COVID and going through this past 2 years of downturn, I think companies realize that the community is really important and connecting to it. Again, it hedges you against challenges. Like if you need to hire, that's a good way to, you know your brand's out there.
Yeah, and I want to segue that into when you're looking at workforce now, working in the talent acquisition or recruitment space, what are you seeing these days? Because we're always seeing, oh, X company has laid off 40% of their workforce or whatever. Are you seeing other companies that are hiring? Who's hiring? Who's not hiring? Large, small? Like, what are you seeing as far as recruitment goes right now, at least in the biotechnology space?
Great question. And I think it's very polarized, what I see right now.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen we've probably hit the bottom and are on our way out in terms of layoffs. I think the restructuring has probably settled down. You know, a lot of the mergers and acquisitions have already happened over the past 9 months. So so we're seeing the layoffs start to really kind of subside. They're still happening. I mean, you know, because you know the funding didn't come, and what you see is people running out of their runway.
Yep.
And so, you know, depending on how much runway you had over the past couple of years, you're still seeing, and there was a bankruptcy filed just this past week, and so you're still seeing that. A lot of the investment has gone into later stage companies, so that it's funding their later stage clinical trials or moving products through market. So you haven't seen a lot of the early R&D, early stage investment in early companies. So as a result, I think there's a lot of scientists and, you know, earlier stage workforce that are still unemployed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think in the CDMO space, you know, you've seen a bunch of layoffs as well, but I feel like that's probably going to bounce back pretty quickly, because these companies, as they're getting investment, no one's going to be building out their own manufacturing as much as they were in the past.
Never.
And I think the CDMO and CRO market is going to bounce back. Probably, you know, we probably have another 9 months to a year before it really bounces back. But the money that's come in is going to be going to production of later stage clinical product. And,
absolutely.
So I think you're going to see that iron out. Now, there's some like I said, I have polarization, right? So there's, you know, we're seeing some companies hiring. I think that less companies have gotten funded, but good companies have gotten funded.
Yes.
So the companies that got funded have really good science, really good leadership. Philadelphia has had some really good investment over the past, I'd say 6-9 months. So there's some really exciting companies coming out of Philadelphia right now. We just saw 2 companies out of Jim Wilson's labs. Jim Wilson spun out 2 companies, and they just received $100 million funding support.
Love it.
So I think you're seeing some hiring in these pockets that are growing. So those are the wins.
Yeah.
You're just not seeing the volume. And again, it goes back to what I said, like the good science and the good technology and the AI enabled elements, the deep data enabled.
A lot of that.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of investment that is going into some of that. So it's out there, but I also want to bring up that as where we were in 2019, when you got $40 million in investment. You were hiring, who you hired then is different than who you're hiring now with that $40 million.
1,000%. Yep.
So I'd say probably to a tone of 60, maybe you're probably hiring 60% as many people with that money. So innovations in technology have changed that. Approaches, fractional hiring.
Yeah,
We've seen that
ton of
fractional
that.
hiring.
A lot of
and
fractional stuff.
So the type of hiring has changed. And again, that's why we're bullish on our approach with Biobuzz and enabling this kind of fractional marketplace. And startups, investors in startups really love it too, because it protects their cap table.
Yep.
They're not writing equity grants to every hire they make, because
Exactly.
half of their executive board is a consultant. So those are some shifts that we've seen.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate, like we work with a lot of growth stage companies on the workforce genetics side, so we provide contingent and retained searches. So whether it's an executive level, director, senior scientist level, we do a fantastic job. So we work with a lot of founders and a lot of growing companies in that market. And it's important because even though there are a lot of people that have been laid off, everybody has a unique blend of what they're doing, and there's a specialized skill or component they're looking for. So we still find the clients are coming to us and saying, hey, I really need this type of phenotype of person, and I need this type of experience. And again, we're seeing less work than we have in the past, but the work that we're doing we're confident in it because we know it's gone through the board, it's been approved, it's a real position that they really need. And so we're seeing, again, whether it's full-time or that fractional, we know when a position comes to us, it's legitimate. Again, whereas
legit role.
Two years ago during COVID, people were throwing stuff out and everyone's hiring like crazy, and sometimes
as bad as it sounds, can you breathe on glass? And it's like, if you can, hey, we'll give you a job. Here's a check for as much as you want.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you an interesting story. So during COVID, we relocated 40 people to Maryland.
Oh my God. You couldn't relocate anybody today.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, if you
I'm
are.
still waiting for my commission check from the state for all that extra tax revenue. I don't know who I talked to about that, but we relocated 40 people.
I'll try to. Might find somebody.
Yeah, if you know anyone, please let me know. I'd love to. I mean, we contributed a lot to the tax revenue, but we brought 40 people into the state to support drug development and manufacturing, a lot of the COVID vaccine development that we were doing here.
Yeah.
How did you find people from outside of the state to actually bring in? Like, because I guess from when we kind of first became knowledgeable of Biobuzz and such to where you guys are now, you guys have really grown a lot. So, like, how were you able to get those people to come from out of state? Are we talking far away or just like states next door? Or?
Great question. All over, really. I mean, a lot on the East Coast, but we were recruiting people from California. We had people from other markets. So it's one of like the secret sauce when you have Biobuzz and the recruiting company. I mean, Biobuzz provides this platform that you can get people excited. So we created a lot of content around why relocate to Maryland, and everything from like talk not just about like the companies, but like Maryland's one of the most diverse states, right? And diverse in demographics, but also diverse in industries. So when you're relocating people and you have a traveling spouse, that's important because your spouse might not be in life sciences.
Yep.
So Maryland's a very competitive place for relocation because there's 5 or 8 really strong industries in Maryland. So we created content and a campaign. We were talking about all the awesome breweries in Frederick. I mean, we created all this type of, and we then we did an analysis and we looked at what markets were really good for the biomanufacturing. And we used Biobuzz and the power of our platform to really run campaigns in those markets, get people excited about Maryland. And we had the content for the funnel that we built them in to get them further excited about Maryland. So between the combination of using the platform that Biobuzz has and then our expertise in recruiting, we put really great campaign together. And it was really successful because our clients were coming to us and saying, everybody has a job in Maryland.
Everybody.
Like I
Everybody.
need biomanufacturing expertise, but yeah, I mean, people are paying like $20,000 sign-on bonuses for like a lead manufacturing person at the time. So
Yeah.
we sat around as a team and we were working with some of the major companies here in Maryland, and we talked to them and said, hey, look, well, we can relocate probably and find really good talent from emerging markets that maybe don't have strong vaccine centers, and that's what we did, and it was wildly successful. And like I said, 40 people in a year moving into Maryland. I was very proud of my team for what they accomplished, because it was a very creative way and approach. And we were doing like virtual recruiting events online with different clients. It was a really exciting time, but it's really showed the power of storytelling and the power of really showing why Maryland also was important. That kind of message. Because it gave people the confidence. And I'll bring it back to that story I told about MedImmune in 2017. I mean, their approach was correct. When we told more stories about why Maryland is a great place for opportunity in life sciences, 5 years later, when we really needed to do that to bring people into Maryland, the platform was there.
Yeah.
And again, that it kind of goes back to that kind of pivot point when they were like, hey, we want to tell more stories about this region.
Yeah.
And then that's part of our secret sauce as we go into other regions now. And we have a whole proprietary recipe on what type of stories and who and how and again, it's exciting. But that was a good use case on why that's beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember recruiting. So I started recruiting, not in the biotech. Well, I'll start with the biotech space. I started recruiting in the biotech space in 2021. And it was, as a recruiter, or a talent acquisition specialist, make myself sound more important. Same thing.
What's the difference between a talent acquisition specialist and a recruiter? Does anybody know?
Internal, external.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
This is out of my...
Big brain, big HR brain there.
Yeah.
But no, it was very, and for lack of a better term, it was very easy to go and find talent and take talent from wherever I felt that I wanted to go take the talent from, because that was another thing that I noticed at that time, that people were willing to leave and switch companies at the drop of a dime, and it's often a pretty big dime that they would go and leave. And I was pulling people for the company I was working for from, you're familiar with BioQual, I can drop that. I was working for BioQual, and I was pulling people from Texas or South Carolina or whomever to move up here. And before that time where money was free flowing, and right after or during all of the COVID funding, it was challenging to get individuals to move. And at the time when I was recruiting, I kind of knew about Biobuzz, but I didn't. I think you reached out to me, or Kat maybe. Someone reached out to me about it. And I wish I could have leveraged that bit a little bit. I mean, I guess we would have been competing a little, but also I could have leveraged the community side a little bit more. Because that was one of their concerns, and I think you do it really well, was, well, I'm married, or my spouse or partner has a job in X industry, and I need them to have a position. They can't do their job remote. And I was always like, well, I don't know if we have industry for mental health or whatever, which we do. We have a great mental health industry here in Maryland. But I was never going to be able to offer that up, and that's something that I just didn't.
But it was clearly an objection when you were recruiting people to move in.
Yeah. They would just look at me and be like, well, if I can't get my spouse to move, I'm not interested. I don't care how much you give me. Like it's just how it was. And I think that's awesome that you guys have a way to just leverage that, other knowledge to help. Because like you said, there's so many factors to getting someone to accept a position. Like, you got to take in their whole family, like schools and stuff. If they have children, like that's another thing to think about. Like, well, I want to make sure my kids can go to a really nice school, or I want them to have the ability to go to a private school, which Maryland seems to have 1,000 of. I can't relate, but that's there's so many layers to getting people to accept jobs, and now it's a completely different market.
It really is. It's wild how it's changed, and it the market is the market for hiring. Like I said, it's definitely toned down.
Yeah.
Hoping that things really turn around as rates continue to drop and the election's behind us, but I think companies have learned several things over the past couple years. One, they learned that the executive level, workforce they have can fly in and can work remote.
Absolutely.
That was a non-negotiable 5 years ago. You would never see a head of quality that wasn't
physically there.
Physically on site, yeah.
And also, better IT infrastructure that
Thanks for the plug.
Pathways.
Thanks for the free
that
plug.
helps out a little bit, right?
No, but it's true. It's very true, because there's a company that we work with that at the time, and we'll say 2020, even 2021, it was questionable at best if they could support a remote workforce. There was no way that was going to happen. Now, they can. And that's like a pat on our back, but also it's the truth.
I mean, to tie into kind of like what you're saying about being able to leverage all of that, for you to be able to bring in people with technology and stuff, because COVID just threw it in the forefront that it was needed and became more acceptable to not physically be here. Mm-hmm. We see companies all the time now doing that, and it's not a big deal. But it used to be. It's like, oh, this person's being hired from California. Okay, when are they coming so we can onboard them? Oh, they're not. They're there all the time. And being able to support that is huge. That's, I think, why we prioritize kind of the way we want our customers to operate, because that is such a common place right now. But
yeah, and like you said a while ago, executives flying in from other areas or like a head of quality not being physically on site overseeing people, it was unheard of a few years ago. And now it seems like I can't meet with a head of quality in person at all, and it's over Teams, and that's fine. And I sometimes my introverted self, as we talked about earlier, kind of prefers, like, I want to go stay at home or stay in my little one-man office in Winston-Salem, or I have more than a one-man office, but stay in my little office in Winston-Salem and talk to them over Teams. And I think it opens, and this is something that I'm really interested in, I think it opens up the ability for talent and for people to live anywhere. Because you always get that question, the cost of living is so high in the DC metro area or the DMV or whatever. And that's always like, I don't want to do that. But being able to put them or have them to be able to work remotely, and if they want to live in the middle of Iowa, which more power to you, they can. I don't know. I just try middle of the country. I don't know, but I think it's great.
I'll break that open a little bit further, but science and medicine is global.
Yes.
Right? So I think the infrastructure that has been established and that I know you all work with companies on has enabled better science globally. And so I'll just, again, go back to storytelling. So when we were at the Millipore Sigma grand opening the other week, and we got a tour, and we were talking about, they got to design this building from the ground up, right? I asked several times, like, what were some of the things that went into this building, to support employee experience and collaboration? And every time it was data, infrastructure, automation, all the conference rooms built in with video capabilities, right? And from a data standpoint, again, and they have they call them virtual windows into all their labs, right? So their clients, which could be remote across the country or the world, could
remote in machine and see
say, hey, what's going on with my study? So I just thought that was fascinating, that how big of a focus they put onto their infrastructure. And so one, around the employee experience, but two, around their science. I mean, the investment in their next gen sequencing, pipeline and the data pipeline, they said the same thing. Like their data, lab automation, and everything was kind of one of the foundational pillars that they built the building around.
Absolutely.
And they built it to grow because they know that it's exponentially going to grow over the next decade. And they don't want to be building another building, I'm sure.
I'm sure they don't. Where is that their new building? Because I know that when I was at BioQua, Milpar Sigma had a building off Medical Center, and I walked past it every day.
Yeah, they're down off of right next to the Shady Grove campus in Rockville.
Okay, so yeah, I know where that is then. Yeah, okay, cool. Go, I would say go visit, but I don't think they're just going to let you walk up in their facility.
No, but I'll tell you again. I think that just bringing it full circle. I mean, I think that the things that employers are doing these days are talent, especially in this industry, is critical to the success of every company.
Absolutely.
And I think the shifts that they've made, we see that how they're shifting around, investing in things like community, IT, and infrastructure to support their employee experience and their client experience, or their, again, getting their products to patients faster. So these are all things that they're investing in. And even from the talent acquisition recruiting, I mean, we see them investing in things that, like the storytelling and content. And so there's a lot has shifted over the past 3 or 4 years, but there's some really exciting things that have come up, and we didn't even talk about.
Yeah.
And we'll have to come back again. I'm
Part
inviting
two,
myself
part
back.
two,
Part two.
Chris Frew. Part two, Chris Frew.
Ooh, I like it.
That's why I make the big bucks.
Well, we didn't even talk about some of like the skills and that have evolved, and how companies are screening candidates now, and the new skills that candidates need to have. So that's a conversation we could talk on for a while as well. But the changes that we have seen have all been around how do the companies become more sustainable, how do they attract and retain and engage employees, and just more intentional about so much more things that they're doing.
So for people to get more involved and find out more with Biobuzz, what do they need to do?
It's very easy.
Call me.
Here's my number. Biobuzz.io. That's our website. So it's very easy. Come and join and subscribe. We have weekly newsletters that go out about the markets we're in. We're at a really exciting stage right now. We're raising a little bit of capital to help us with some pre-launch preparation. We're launching our AI-powered community platform and talent marketplace in Q1 2025. So in the meantime, we're doing everything we've loved to do for so long, which is the storytelling, celebrating employers, celebrating regions, celebrating our partners like you all.
Yeah.
And continue to promote the events and programming that bring the community together. So I'd encourage you to come and sign up. Once you sign up, you can create your account. If you want to then create a talent profile, if you are on the job for something new, or looking if you're a consultant looking for fractional employment, you can create your profile and get notified when we have matches for you on new opportunities. So we make it very easy.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I mean, I love it. I'm full on supporter of the Biobuzz platform. I think it's going to be great for the community to find be able to find positions in a different way, instead of going on LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever, or getting contacted by a recruiter, but kind of actively know. And that's if you want to be a consultant too, which I think is a huge layer. And it's something we talked about earlier, is that there's more consultants now than there have ever been. And I see it every day. I'm like, I log on LinkedIn and it's like, I'm offering consulting services for QC or whatever it may be. There's always someone offering consulting services, which is great. Like, I think, and some people look at it as like their full-time job, but it could be a side hustle, and that's...
Well, the we could go into a lot of detail, but the demographics of the U.S. and everything are moving towards this, and most people don't realize that, but a third of our workforce worked as a freelancer last year. All the U.S. workforce. So
wow.
But in any company, when you say your workforce, a lot of times people think you're employees.
Yeah.
But in reality, you have, in any biotech company you go to, you have a combination of full-time employees, contractors who are on longer term staffing assignments, like through like us or a staffing company. You have freelancers and consultants.
Mm-hmm.
You have consulting companies who have people on site, like Info
Yeah, and
Pathways.
we consult, yeah.
So look, that's an ecosystem of workforce, and that's how we designed the new Biobuzz platform, is to support all of those elements, not just to say we are just for full time or just for your lab tech staffing.
Yeah.
We've created a platform, and we are creating a platform with it that is really built around that, and I'm excited. Again, Q1 we're launching. We have just announced a partnership with a Maryland company based out of Frederick called ScienceWorks, who is developing our AI-powered community and talent marketplace.
Yeah.
They're an amazing company. They're like a nonprofit venture accelerator, so they help more technology come out of the government and universities and help get it to market faster.
Awesome.
So we're thrilled to partner with them, and again, our approach is really building this through partnerships with the workforce in mind.
Awesome. So, are there any events that are coming about that you want to talk about that Biobuzz may be having, or that are having, or anybody else that that you're going to be at, or any of your folks for Biobuzz will be at?
I mean, we're coming through an exciting event season.
Yes, we are.
We are. I think everybody is going through a lot of events, but so the next couple we have are we do a combination of these open events and some private ones. So we have a couple. We have an investor event we're hosting to connect some investors with some startup companies.
Okay.
And then we have a 10-year anniversary coming up for a local company that we're helping to put on for them.
Awesome.
And then there's a BioBeers coming up in a couple weeks up in Frederick.
I love BioBeers.
I mean, you should see the list. I mean, if you could visit biobuzz.io and go to the events page, there's just a list. So I encourage everyone to go and check that out.
That's what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to plug the list of all the events and stuff.
You had me to rack my brain. But this has been great. Thank you both for inviting me in today. Again, I feel at home here, so I hope we can do this again sometime. And
you always
thanks for all you do.
Yeah, man. I try to push BioBuzz as much as I can and get the name out there and talk about it as much as possible.
We just got to get you a couple more pins.
I want a pin.
Yeah, we got to get it. All right,
No, you got to be an ambassador. You need to go talk to Kat to be an
Okay.
ambassador if you want to do it. We should get Kat on here next time.
Yeah.
She'll do it. Think she'll hop on here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love that.
I'll reach out to her.
Okay.
Or can you do like an intro or something? Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Thanks so much. Thanks for popping by and talking about BioBuzz and just everything workforce related here. I'm super happy that you came, and I love what you guys do, and I'm firmly behind it, and I know Alec is too. And if there's any way we can support you, we will 1,000% do it if we can.
I love it. Well, doing things like this is great, and helping
Yeah.
to share our story and your story and the story of the people in the community. So, again, thank you. Excited to be on IP Cafe, and can't wait to. Again, I think you got some exciting guests coming up in the future
We
too.
do.
So I'm enjoying listening to the podcast.
You do listen?
Sweet.
You're lying to me.
All
I'm
right.
kidding.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you at the next event.
Yeah.
Speaking on events, Info Pathways, as we wind down the conference exhibition season, I guess.
I feel like it's firing up. I don't know.
Well, this will be the last one, I think. But as we wind down this fall season of it, Info Pathways is going to be at a few different events. First one that is really big and we're really excited for is we're headed down to Nashville for ALAS National, the ALAS National Conference. I mean, we're talking, 300 and some odd exhibitors and 500 or 5,000 or so attendees. I don't know if that includes exhibitors or not, but and just a really
Almost a week long.
a week long just event of us talking to folks in the biomedical research and animal research industry, where we sit down and we talk about just everything and hang out with those folks.
Might even be able to grab a little bit of espresso shots while we're down there.
Maybe a couple espresso shots.
Yeah, give you guys a little insight into our journey, which I'm super excited for. I am so excited to go to Nashville.
Yeah, that seems like you, fancy
Tracks.
cowboy.
Yeah, I think we're gonna. I don't know that I'll take the cowboy hat down, but I'm definitely probably going to buy one there.
You gonna
Definitely
be-
a pair of boots.
You gonna be wearing boots?
Depends how much I'm standing.
No boots at the booth. No boots at the booth.
I don't think that says that in their thing.
I might not say it, but marketing director back there, Ravenna, might say, "Hey."
She has boots herself, so we might.
Oh, so I need
she's
to go
got
buy
black
boots.
We're gonna go.
I need to go
shopping.
buy boots.
Sunday night.
I'll go buy boots.
Yeah, Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, that we got off sidetrack there, but that's the big event that you'll see us at.
Yeah.
In the next coming weeks, I
Lots
believe
of
it.
smaller ones coming up too.
Yeah. So we pre-recorded this to release date, obviously. So there will be Maryland Tech? No, Fitzy. There's a
Fitzy's
Fitzy
got
event.
the 20th anniversary coming up, so that'll be a really exciting event. Initially, it was only going to be a few of us because part of our team was going to be down at the App State Cyber Summit, but due to
just terrible natural disaster, we won't actually. That event has actually been moved to allow that community time to recover and reset, and they're not going to have 300 some odd people just coming in, just hanging out in Boone. I think they need their time to recover, and we're trying to do as much as we can to ensure that we're offering them as much support in that area as we can.
If anybody has questions of how they can help or anything, reach out to us and we can help point you in the right direction in some areas.
So that's actually been rescheduled for February 20th and 21st of 2025. We're excited about that as well, but there's some other events coming down the horizon that we're looking at outside of ALAS. JPM Week in San Francisco. No guarantee that we'll be there, but that's
a possibility.
There's a good possibility that we'll be out there, and it gets busy around this time. There's holiday parties that Biobuzz, I think, is doing some sort of holiday party or something. And there's a lot of things going on. So it's an exciting time. I know Alec and I have been busy. We've been everywhere. Bioinnovation, we attended that this week. So, it's a busy time.
Yeah.
And, we're just looking to keep things rolling. And,
and I give a shout out to our next
guest.
Our next guest is Maryland Tech Council's Kelly Schultz.
We're talking about we're bringing on the big dogs.
Yeah,
not that everyone else on here wasn't big dogs, but we're bringing on the big dogs.
I thought Chris was a big dog, but yeah, everybody else has been great to talk to. But I'm really excited for this conversation. I haven't said conversation with Kelly. We used to do them.
Yeah, we
Maryland
did.
Tech Council used to do that. Conversations with Kelly. That was fun.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a conversation with her coming up. So looking forward to that. And
I will probably be remote for that one again. But it's going to be good, and I'm excited for that one. And then there's some other guests that are coming down the pipeline. Somebody who's probably just as famous as Kelly might be joining us as well. And then we got some other great guests that are joining us too. So exciting times on the IP podcast, and we're just gonna keep churning them out and
one last plug for us. It is Cybersecurity Month.
It is Cybersecurity Month, and
we take that very seriously.
We do.
Very seriously.
Profoundly serious. Silence.
If you don't lock your computer with a Kensington lock at night, we do.
Stop. Oh my gosh, inside joke.
I used to have one in college. I locked my computer up every night.
No, you didn't.
I did. I actually had a locker to lock my laptop in, but I used it to lock liquor up instead.
So this is going. We're going to have to stop this piece at some point about the events. And then this is going to become into espresso or IP cafe espresso martini, because this is going to get unhinged after a while. But yes, so Cybersecurity Month, Info Pathways. We came together with one of our other partners, a tool that we use. And so we're going to be offering free pen testing for really anybody, not just our clients, but for anybody that might be interested in getting a free pen test and a cybersecurity evaluation. That's up to, so there are some disclaimers. It's only up to
I think it's
100 IP addresses. We don't want to go over and inundate. And yeah, so what we're going to do is do those pen tests, get those out to people that might be needing them.
Yep.
And if they take it and they see some interest or they have some concerns, they can come to us or they can go elsewhere. Preferably come to us. But
so if you've got questions on that, you can reach out to us and we can get that set up. You can email info@infopathways.com or Desmond. It's just
or Alec.
Desmond at infopathways.com, Alec infopathways.com.
And so yeah, check it out. It's there's no strings attached to it.
This is for the month of October.
Yeah.
So
for the month of October it'll be free, and then we're looking into options to potentially have this be an ongoing service where we can offer it at a discounted rate, for the foreseeable and ongoing future. So it's just another cool tool for us that we want to be able to offer to specifically, Maryland Tech Council folks as well as, really anybody that comes to us, I'm a North Carolina guy, so North Carolina Biotechnology Center or Triangle Biotech Tuesday or whomever. We just want to offer them the ability to join us and, or not to join us, but the ability to get this service, at a price that's not going to break the bank.
Yeah.
So very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, hope everyone enjoyed, and thanks for listening to the IP Cafe.